would like to bring a lot of people. So yes, somehow today a lot of people are facing this problem. So meanwhile, you tell us about legalways and some of the fundraising stories that you have of your own. Then meanwhile, I'll try to bring a lot of the folks in. So we just don't end up engaging with this coordination of bringing people, but we start delivering some content.
Absolutely. Yes. So I'll talk a bit about LegalWiz, and LegalWiz essentially is a legal tech platform where we provide business professional services. So anything that is related to incorporating your companies, securing your trademarks, BST compliances, accounting and bookkeeping, legal documents drafting, and bunch of other services to small businesses and startups. So we've been in business for about, I think, 9 years now, wherein we have served more than 10,000 startups and MSMEs across India and a few overseas. So yeah, that's a little about LegalWiz. Definitely do check out the website if that becomes helpful. A little bit about the startup code. So Icha and LegalWiz sort of collaborated to build a platform where it helps entrepreneurs to make their journey from 0 to 1 very significant. While there are a lot of acceleration programs with limited cohorts, we wanted to create a value system where a lot of relevant people talk about the real life problems that they have faced and how they have solved it. So in most of these sessions that we could continue to conduct for about a month now, and for next foreseeable time, is where a lot of people who have hustled through this journey will come and talk about how they could solve it and share their wisdom, which might just be very relevant for people who are going through that journey. So that's sort of a rationale, and we are just in time to have Umesh join in. Umesh, can you hear us?
Yeah, hi. Finally.
Okay. So right. You are able to figure out. So tell us, so a lot of other folks that I'm inviting, how they can figure out.
I sent him a special
refreshed link that Srijay shared with me was, using which I was able to join in.
Nice.
Okay, so probably you can leave and if you can refresh and join in again, probably that.
Yeah, I think that would work.
But that means everybody will leave and we'll be only 3 people talking about it. But we are recording, so okay. Yeah. So for us, the idea of this starter code discussions is to have 15-20 people only, where everybody is on stage and we go deeper into discussions. Instead of having when we started up, we had those big ticket programs, but eventually what we realized is this 15-20 people discussions are the much more interesting and more valuable to the folks. So we'll keep sending you the invites. If you can figure out how to, you can probably raise your hands. We want to take up your questions and discussions. Umesh is able to figure out, so I hope that somebody else will also be able to figure out that we can bring you on stage. I'm sending a lot of invites. Avinash, Devans, Nandan, like Maulik, Ashutosh, Amit, Bhagir, Saurav. I've sent you the invite to on stage. Probably once if you're on a laptop, that could work. If you're on a mobile, I believe that could be some problem. So if you're using a laptop, that could work. But meanwhile, we'll just get started. So Umesh, thank you so much for accepting the invite.
Yeah, good to be on the platform.
Yes, and so Umesh, tell us about DevX. So DevX is very interesting, right? It has multiple businesses within a certain big ticket co-working vertical. But what is DevX and what is DevX Venture Fund?
I'll brief about DevX, but yeah, I personally feel DevX is not interesting. That's a very boring business to be into. Unlike LegalWiz, which is very sexy, a tech-driven e-commerce platform which excites people to kind of get glued to it. We are a traditional, boring business. Execution is the key in the segment. So what we essentially do is we take up office spaces in multiple cities, and then host and provide office spaces, custom-built office spaces to larger enterprise clients. We cater to clients like Salesforce, Persistent Systems, Hitachi, few of the larger ones that have taken spaces with us. Now, since we have built-in community across the country, across 11 cities in India, we have a community of 12,000 people. What we realized that this is the core strength on which we need to capitalize upon, and we started doing a lot of forward and backward integration around this. The first step that we did was obviously we started investing into early stage startups. Since 2020 till date, we have invested into 16 ventures, and God has been very kind on us and been able to kind of take exit into the first three that we invested in. And we have seen Series A investments happening in the recent startups that we kind of funded. So that's a good sign. Secondly, we have our in-house design and development capability, so we don't have to kind of outsource all the fit outs, interior fit outs that we do within our offices. We do it from the internal team itself. That's the second forward integration that we did. And the third one recently that we did was we started developing our own asset. We bought a land, we are developing an asset on top of it, which would be consumed as managed office space solution. Yeah, so that's essentially in a nutshell what we're doing.
Awesome. So Umesh, you raised funds yourself when you started up. How did that happen?
So when we started, we put in around $500,000 as the seed capital, as the capital infusion in the venture. A year later, like in 2018, I recall on 10th of May is when our first center went live, and by 10th or 15th of September, we were running at around 110% occupancy levels. So that gave us the conviction that this can be scaled up, and we kind of streamlined the operations after we saw the success of sales happening. And from January 2019 is when we started actively going out, raising the external capital. Again, was fortunate to kind of have interaction with like-minded people, and we got the term sheet in the month of April 2019, and 1st of June is when the first external check of 7.2 CR hit the bank account. Yeah, so
Okay, nice, awesome. So when we do this, a lot of these programs, and when we read, so there is a certain playbook about raising funds that you come up with a business idea, create a business plan, pitch to a lot of investors, raise seed round, then pre-seed, bridge series or something. So there is certain framework about raising funds. Did that happen with you, or you had a very different route to it, or you
well,
also to so many people?
yeah, so theoretically I followed everything, but none of them worked. It was an offline network and interaction that kind of played the right set of role for us. So I did everything. Like, I mean, I figured out 150 emails of VCs in which you write the subject line, which is kind of intrigued enough to kind of for them to open the emails, on which you keep on receiving emails from them that we are rejecting, we are no longer investing into the venture, we are not interested to invest in the segment, some things which would be kind of not interested for them at that juncture. And unfortunately, WeWork fiasco happened at the same time. So again, it was very difficult for us to raise external capital from the primary set of investors, which were so-called darlings of the country. I mean, the VC ecosystem, the private equity ecosystem, which is available in the news, which you can access, was no longer available to us because that segment was not kind of preferred by them. So I had to opt for something else in family offices, which was not a very um, attractive culture back in 2019. I had to figure out as to how do I reach out to them and connect to them, ultimately, which can be useful for us.
Okay, how did that happen? You met them at a conference. You had some.
So I started. So chartered accountants are one of the key drivers of making you the right connect of people which have wealth, which can be deployed for or probably used for growth capital, and that was the first thing that worked for us. We obviously tried out other platforms as well, like joined multiple events, participated in activities when you can interact with ultra HNIs and family offices. But what worked for me was a larger pool of interaction with chartered accountants who had access to very good quantum of capital coming from family offices to HNIs.
Okay, awesome. Serious, somehow you're not able to bring people on stage today. This is the first time.
Is weird. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do the part two of this thing also, but we'll continue with our discussion. We'll take questions that are coming in. Nandan has asked, what is the most important aspect of business that you look into before investing? So when you become investor, what do you look at? What's the dynamic? So tell us about the beginning of the Vex Venture Fund, and then you can answer Nandan's question.
Um, the stage at which we enter, it's predominantly we obviously ask for numbers. We obviously understand the industry, where it is going, how it is heading. But the ultimate fundamental lies and boils down as to who the founder is, what is the pedigree of the founders, how complementary skill sets are there between amongst the founders. That is where you ultimately take the bet. Um, there is obviously, I wouldn't deny that there is some intuitive call that you take pertaining to the investments that you're doing, because the stage at which we enter, it is very early stage of the business life cycle. It is like the founder has just came up with an idea. There's a validation, there's a product market fit, and there's few customers which are paying a price for that, paying a value for it. So at this juncture, you don't have much numbers to kind of develop on. It is all vision and future of the founders, which kind of pushes you to make a decision of a yes or a no. So for me, it's obviously the founders for to make that or take that decision of writing a check or not.
Okay, awesome. You can till the time if you are not able to join on stage, you can ask the question. We'll take up those questions and we'll try to ask questions which could be relevant to founders. So Umesh, in the 16 startups that you invested in, tell us one or two very specific examples. That is how you discovered the founders, what happened eventually. If you can tell us the life cycle of a particular deal that you had.
Sure. Obviously, the one that I like, love, prefer is the first one. That's always closer to your right. I mean, we wrote a check of 50 lakhs, which was above the threshold or the thesis that we had predefined. It was a hardware startup. I met the founder as he visited our center while he was looking for an office space. And fortunately, I met him for the sales call. I gave him the walkthrough. While I was giving him the walkthrough, I understood the business model that he's into, which intrigued me to kind of have a deeper conversation with him. We set up another meeting, just understood the business. So in the first 1.5 meeting, there was no a discussion with respect to whether he's raising funds or not. It was more about understanding him and the business model that he's into. Neither did the founder kind of speak on those lines. And we liked the model the business that he was into, and we kind of confirmed the deal in probably 40-45 days of time frame. And so that was an investment in mid of 2020, um, immediately after the COVID. Post that, it was fortunate for us that I was able to spend more time with him. In 2022, while he was developing the product, we started discussing as to where the next phase of growth can come in, and that is where we finalized that if this product needs to scale up, it has to be tapped along with a larger organization which can scale this up with an existing ecosystem. And that's where we started identifying the list of players who can probably be a right acquirer for this venture. And while doing so, we figured out a strategy for each one of them. So it is right from identifying the venture till helping him find the right vendors, providing him the right infrastructure for him to scale up, and then probably supporting him, guiding him wherever possible we can in figuring out the right strategy. And by God's grace, we landed in an exit pool. We made 3x within 2 years of time frame.
Okay, awesome. So the link that I shared is working now. It's a moderator link, so don't do moderator stuff. Do the participant stuff once you get access to it. Okay, and change your name so that people know that who's the Jatin.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was wondering how many Jatins are there on
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we have a couple of more folks. Hi Nandan, hi Ankit, hi Agrek. So Nandan, tell us about you. Have you raised funds? What are you? What's your stage?
No, not yet. We are trying. We'll be trying to raise funds in next couple of months. So the question that what is the most important thing that you look into,
Uh,
and
Tell us about your company also, so that people
so
get more.
so we are into industrial IoT. We build products which companies can use to design their own dashboards, design their real-time monitoring systems, and then they can even remotely operate the entire factory from anywhere in the world using our products.
So Nandan, Umesh has answered your question. Do you have a follow-up on that, or you are not happy with the first answer that you
No, I mean he will keep it a secret as to what he will look into founders, obviously. But yes,
Uh, well, there's no none predefined recipe as to what we look into founders, but yeah, it's like how compassion you are towards the venture that you're building, how much, what's
yes.
the passion that you're showcasing, what is your review with your founders? Are the answers coming out right? I mean, in the same fashion from one founder to another founder, or is there kind of a mismatch on the understanding?
What about solo founders if there's no multiple founders?
Well, unfortunately for us, I mean, I mean, that's a negative start. So typically, when the conversion happens, it is you're starting from zero, and if the check is returned, that's 100. If it's a solo founder, the journey starts from -10.
okay, that doesn't mean that you cannot build a great business without being a solo
Yes,
founder. You can still do
So
it.
my first investment was a solo founder.
Okay, but sometimes in a solo founder is your choice, or you are not able to find a co-founder. So if it's your choice and you're still able to build great products, then that's a great plus. But if you're trying to find co-founder and not, so that becomes a little like, are you able to attract somebody? So
Yeah.
sometimes what people look for co-founder in a team is to believe that you can build a product or a business that you are trying to propose. So this shows. So if you're not able to bring somebody as a co-founder, are you able to bring somebody as a head of engineering or a head of product or a
yes,
head of a business? So having a co-founder is not necessarily, but
yes.
demonstrate that you can still pull off it. So if you are a person from a tech background, do you have a head of business? If not the co-founder, or if you are a person from a business background, do you have a head of tech or something? Okay, we have more folks. Raghav, can you briefly introduce about yourself, about your company, and any question that you have?
Sure, sure. So my name is Raghav. I'm based in Chennai, and I just started a startup this year, like 7 months ago. We're building a bunch of like SaaS products. We don't do any kind of servicing offering. We just do our own products. And one of the products we're building is actually for a community that I've been running for the past year and a half. I've been running a community called the Startup Club. It's kind of similar to what you guys are doing over here, bringing in like startup stakeholders and like having conversations and educating the larger startup community, right? So we've been doing that, and we're building an app to sort of like bring people together in all of these, because one of the biggest problems in this area that I see is the discoverability aspect. A lot of people are struggling to find the right kind of people to work with, or get investors on board, or to form the team, the core team, and all that stuff. So we want to get into that because the dynamics are different in a startup ecosystem,
Correct.
because it's kind of different from a corporate networking space, right? So we want to build a solution for that, and we are about to launch the application in a few weeks. But one of the things I wanted to ask is like, as an investor, I think one of the problems is like you have a hard time identifying what kind of startups, because like every investor has a niche, right? You have a certain uh, strengths, and you have to like find the right kind of people to work with that can leverage your strengths. So what kind of challenges do you face when you're trying to like identify that startup? Like I'm sure you must have like a large pool of like candidates to pick from, and how do you make the choice, and how do you manage the process?
Um, so Raghav, there's always a problem of plenty. So when you start investing, and if you kind of achieve few successes in the early phase of the life, you suddenly see your startup deal flow increasing massively. Unfortunately, we cannot increase the inner capability to assess every startup and give the right time to each venture, because you're still a lean team. I mean, for us, we are just a three people team for the entire venture fund that we kind of drive it. So it's difficult to value and assess each startup in the same manner. So in the process, we do miss out on a lot of submissions that we receive on our website and on the email, and might not be able to give justice to all of them. But the interactions whatever we have, be it those interactions coming in from reference or an email or a website application, we try to see that if there's some conversations that is picked up, we try to reach to an end, uh, positive or negative, but we do try to give an end point to that. We do have certain preferences, and I'll be very honest, these are seasonal preferences. Like if you would ask me as to what do I like in 2021, I would have said D2C. If you ask me today, I would say that I would not invest in D2C. I would prefer to invest into hardware design startups. So that's very seasonal in nature because it kind of, I mean, we ultimately need to follow the trend as to where our exits can come in from, right? So, but what we prefer and like is certain sectors like B2B SaaS, enterprise SaaS, basically. That's very closer to our heart. It has been like that. We prefer to invest into B2B ventures, wherein scale can happen. Like that has always been the case. We prefer them because that is where we can add value. So these are few ones specifically into fintech that we prefer to kind of work with.
Yeah, let me just reiterate the question. So my question is really about the process, not the sectors or what kind of preferences you have. But like, let's say somebody's trying to reach out to you, and what is the first point of contact? Do they send you an email, or do you have a form on your site that they fill up? And how do you channel those? Like obviously you're not getting enough of the things that you need to make the decision on just from that email or something else. So how
Right.
do you take it forward?
So we have a detailed questionnaire which is defined as per industry. So even before we share that link, we prefer to have like 10-15 minutes conversation with the founder to understand the psyche, because if you're able to filter it in that 15 minutes, nothing like it, right? I mean, it saves a lot of time for the founder as well as for us. The next stage, if it goes through, then we have a detailed questionnaire which is defined for each of these sectors, because certain questions would vary depending on to the segments that they are into, right? So we share that specific link with the founder, which typically takes about an hour and a half to fill those details. Once we receive that, then there's a second level of filtration that happens from there, because there are certain metrics fixed for each of those sectors, which is predefined. And so, if those matrices are not matching with the answers that have been received, there's a filtration that happens on that stage. If it goes through from there, we have a call with the analyst. The first call happens with the analyst. If it goes through from there, it happens with me. And if that is true, then we have an external committee with which the call happens. So, so there are 5 stages which happen, and each of those stages we fill in our internal review mechanism, wherein uh, we try to not repeat certain questions. Obviously, basics gets repeated, but certain understanding which is getting built around the founder does not get repeated in terms of the questions that we ask. So that is the process that we adopt. Now, so after these 5 steps, if the check size is within the range that we invest into, which is typically 50 lakhs for us, if it is within the range, we take the call for ourselves. If the founder says that I'm looking to raise 1.5 CR, 2 CR, 2.5 CR, which is above the check size that we typically invest into, then probably and assume that we are very bullish and optimist on the venture, then you take up the entire chunk. But the remaining additional chunk is what we syndicate from the first set of pool of investors that we have around us. So up to 50 lakhs is what we invest into. Post that is what we kind of pull in as a syndicate. So if it is a requirement of a syndicate beyond 50 lakhs rupees, then probably there's a sixth call also happening with the rest of the investors.
Okay. Just one follow-up question. So tell me about the numbers, like how many applicants you're getting and how many are you picking in each quarter or like a year or something?
Well, applications in terms of receipt would be very high, like to be very honest, and there would be few. And if my total number that I receive on a monthly basis would be around 250 to 300
Okay.
on an average, and this number that I'm saying is the number that I'm tracking. I
Mhm.
would be missing a lot of them, which are probably on alternate channels, which would be coming on WhatsApp or LinkedIn or junk emails. Right? I'm not accounting that. So from that 250 to 300, unfortunately, we are able to have only like 8 to 12 conversations.
Okay.
The third step that I said, and from that annually we invest into 4 to 6 startups.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you
Awesome.
so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So just to give you the context, the Umesh is sharing his own experiences, which is very specific to Devek's venture fund.
Yeah.
By no means we are saying that you should follow this. You have to contextualize for your industry, for the people that you are engaging with. We'll move to Danish. Danish, if we can briefly introduce yourself and the question that you want to ask.
So, hey, hi everyone. This is Danish. We are based out of Bangalore. So, we have recently been incubated at NASCOM in Bangalore. We are also part with Pedal Start for our incubation program. Now, we'll talk about the product, what actually we are trying to build. So, we are trying to build a detachable display with which we'll have our own IP chipset. That IP chipset will contain AI analytics. That IP chipset will contain multi-model connectivity network. That IP chipset will contain real-time data analytics and all of those things involved. Apart from that, we'll be making a SaaS platform which will be able to control that displays in the initial stages. We will deploy those displays into places where we can use them for advertisement of brands for public and private sectors and for local, national, international brands and all of that. So what we are trying to do is that we are trying to give a software to these advertisers through which they can control their advertisements in real time. Along with that, we have an AI camera and sensors involved wherein we'll be able to tell the exact ROI that comes out of those advertisements rather than giving an inferred number of the ROI. So we are trying to track down the exact number. What we aim to do in future is that we are trying to incorporate not only our displays but also the displays of the numerous number of ad agencies that are available into the market. We can take an example of JCD Cox, we can take example of Lamar, every of them. So what we are trying to do is that basically in layman language, we are trying to become Zomato in the advertisement sector, wherein we are trying to become the ad aggregator for all of those agencies. Only not into the advertising sector in the out of home media. We are also trying to inculcate into the social media and the OTT platforms. So if an advertiser really wants to advertise on multiple platforms in a single go, he can go up through our software. He'll be able to advertise to OOH. He'll be able to advertise on the social media. He'll be able to advertise on OTT platforms and all of that. So our SaaS is going to be a very core thing for our business. But in the initial stages, to generate revenue for us and for our founding members and for the people who are going to be investing with us, we are deploying our screens starting from tier 1, that is from Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, and Kolkata, and we'll be shifting to tier 2 city as we see a larger scope in tier 2 city rather than tier 1 city, because the advertisements therein are not as freely available in terms of dynamism and in terms of this digital quantity. Now, our pricing is very cheap when it comes to outdoor advertisement. We are charging somewhere around 2 rupees per minute to 7 rupees per minute, which is by far the cheapest thing that you can ever see in outdoor advertisement. With our software, we'll be able to give AI analytics because of the camera and because of the sensor. So that is another subscription-based model for the advertisers if they want it. On top of that, from agencies, we'll be charging a commission for giving them the advertisers from our own brand. So this is a longer vision which we are trying to develop as of the moment. The question that I have for Umesh is that I actually wanted to know, we have done a prototype stage wherein we have made an LED bag. The name of the company goes by the Awe Media. You can check it out on LinkedIn. You can check it out on Instagram. We are currently in our pilot phase here itself in Bangalore. We have 3 advertisers with us at this moment of time. We have Uncle Delivery, we have a fashion company by the name of Rare 99, and we have a marketing agency by the name of Prepage, who are our customers. We are not focusing on revenue at this moment of time because we actually have a very long goal to go on to. My question to you is that how do we go on to these venture capitalists or angel investors and talk about pre-seed funding? Because whenever we talk about pre-seed funding to multiple incubators or accelerators, they think that it is only going to happen through your friends or your colleagues or your family and everything. But not everyone has a family or a friend connection which has a large pool of money, because the industry which we are trying to go into and the kind of prototype we are trying to develop is going to take a huge sum of capex for us. And the only advantage that we are going to have is a first mover advantage. So we need to be very quick into that. So that is something that I really wanted to ask you. How do we cater to that, and what kind of people should we go on to? What should be our approach, and how do you think we can go ahead with that? Because our ticket size is also bigger. In the pre-seed itself, we are starting to the minimum amount that we are raising is somewhere around 2.5 CR, and the maximum we are going till 10 CR. Okay. So it's a big ticket window that we are trying to raise on. We definitely have help and support from NASCOM and everywhere. We know it's a big thing, and once we are fully available there, we have a lot of things. But still, as a new founder, and then I don't have any technical expertise, so I was basically doing my own tourism business in 2016. I shifted to Delhi in 2020. I got selected as an assistant commandant in CISF. I finished my training of 18 months there. And then because of I got selected in the COVID period, DOPT said that everyone who got selected in that period will not be taken into consideration for the final one because it's a COVID period. So we were not able to have examination for all the candidates that came into picture. So we had a case filed in Supreme Court. We didn't win because UPSC has its own guidelines and everything. We have a co-founder who is from a marketing background. She is an architect by profession, and she's into the marketing domain. We also have a person whom we don't call as a co-founder, but he is a tech person. He worked in Google, and he has technical expertise in AI and everything. So we have our team set up. But then for the initial stages and to build the SaaS product, there's a lot of funding that is required from us in the very initial stages itself.
Okay.
How do we cater to that?
So Danish, I wanted to ask a question. You mentioned it very rightly that not everybody would have their friends and family who may invest.
Yeah.
Where do you fit in? Do you have the kind of profile that you mentioned who are part of your team?
Exactly. That's why I asked this question.
Okay. Umesh, what is your response to that?
Well, to be very honest, raising 2.5 CR to 10 CR pre-seed, I mean without revenue, is a difficult ask. If it was probably within 50 lakhs to 1 CR range, I would have recommended you to probably register with a lot of incubators in the state of Gujarat, wherein under the incubation facility, you have access to early stage grants and funds, which are available. Having said that, I said it's difficult, it's not kind of impossible. There would be certain segments, technologies, which might be preferred by early stage individuals who are actively out there in the market, hunting for startups to park their capital. But the journey would be difficult. What you essentially need to do is probably meet a lot of incubation centers and via them convince them to kind of make them meet you with the individual investors who would have registered with them. There are a lot of HNIs who are registered with incubation centers. You can approach a lot of co-working spaces as well, who has access to early stage individual investors. Actively participate in ECHI events that are happening across the country, and see if you can kind of meet few of the investors that are there in those sessions. And so the ultimate goal for you would be to put a target of speaking to, let's say, 10 new individuals on a weekly basis, like 10 new conversations with HNIs and ultra HNIs on a weekly basis, which makes you to have an interaction with around 40-50 people in a month, and that takes you to around, let's say, 200 to 300 people in 6 months of time frame. If you're able to achieve that and follow that routine meticulously, I'm sure you'll be able to land a check of 50 lakhs to 1 CR from one individual, which can help you to reach and raise the remaining portion of capital. So if you break 2.5 to 3 CR into phases, 50 lakhs, the first check comes in from incubation centers, the remaining 50 lakhs comes from 4 different individuals, which can help you to reach 2.5 CR. I think that should be the target for you, and put a deadline to this. If it's not happening in that tenure, I think the approach needs to be changed. You already have a marketing company and the name of the company that you said. Start tapping and see if you can generate revenue from them. Then it makes your life a little bit easier. Then you can go to syndicate platforms like Let's Venture and see if you can raise capital from those lines.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Also, I just wanted to ask a quick question for you. So I explained a little bit about the product. What do you actually think about the product? How does it fit in your mind? What do you think?
I think the last line that you said, that we would miss out on the first mover advantage, that needs to be rechecked. I have seen this product, obviously not industry-wide adoption, but I have seen this product being pitched to me by a founder which was executing this product for retail apparels, wherein using facial expressions, they were trying to see if the consumer was happy with the product that is being used on it.
Yeah, we get that, but actually what we are trying to focus on is steadily from outdoor advertisement, wherein in the outdoor advertisement, this is not something which you really come upon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that statement that we'll miss out on being first one, I think that needs to be rechecked. Baki to, with respect to market size, you already aware, that's tremendous. It depends on to the execution skill set that you bring on the table.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you so much for that, Umesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a very good question. Pramin, Agray, you want to go for next? Like brief introduction about you and any question that you may want to ask.
Yeah.
And also, there are a couple of questions that I may try to read it out. Uh, any, Pramin, you want to ask or introduce
I
yourself?
prefer. Yeah. So I'm the co-founder of Botgate. We are into B2B SaaS space. So we are building an AI agent for testing and support across the team, especially for any SaaS organization. So here we are improving the productivity by around 20x and reducing the costing up to 85%. That's what we are focusing, especially from a testing and the support side. So here, in 8 months' time, we are able to build the implementation ready product, put it across the market, and in around 45 days, we are able to close around 4 customers with 16K dollars ARR in place.
Super.
Yeah. So we are able to move faster. So that is one advantage we have. The question I have is in two questions I have. First question, at this point, at this time, we are in the preparation to raise the fund, so $1 million. So what's the right approach for it? And second, to give you a background, we have registered our company in Delaware. All the 4 founders are uh, in Indian resident. Indian resident. So is it the right structure? And as coming to the first question, like what's the process? Should we go for angels first, or is it the right time to look for VCs?
If you, uh, I mean, first of all, I mean, congratulations, you're building something pretty fast and also generating 16,000 ARR. That's like good numbers to be on. Um, with respect to raising capital, I think the approach should be raising it strategically. I think what you would need is somebody having a prior experience and expertise of helping you generate revenue in B2B sales. I think that is where you'll be able to have an edge. Um, so identify an early stage VC. I wouldn't say a VC, probably a micro VC is what you are looking at. Somebody who can kind of support you in connecting the right enterprises when you can also sell the product, which can help you to generate revenue. And there are a lot of micro VCs in the country currently, uh, wherein the thesis is core B2B enterprise clients. Create a list of them, see if you can find a first connect which can help you to introduce them on LinkedIn, or probably if they are in your city, see if somebody can help you get a meeting with them. But I think that would be the first and preferred right approach if I was you.
Okay.
Um, Parallelly, what you can do is you can also create an ecosystem of just having an interaction with other generic micro VCs, which does not have a prior experience of investing into SaaS ventures. But ultimately, if the first one doesn't click for you, you need a backup and you need capital to kind of grow. That's probably answering the first question that you had. On the second question that you asked me, setting up an entity in Delaware, honestly, I what I have figured out is Indian investors are still bit of jittery when it comes to kind of deploying capital outside the country. I'm referring to the check size that you are looking for. Larger investors obviously would be able to write a check outside India, but the smaller, younger investors would feel that if I'm writing a check of 1 CR, why would I get into a hassle of investing outside the country? Because there are a lot of compliances that it would require. Um, in the long run, if you're looking to be a US based entity who just has a development center in India, then preferably you should raise capital from US only. If you are intend to be an Indian company who sees US as a market, as one of the markets, then probably raise capital here only in the country. And I think there's abundant pool of capital available. Why to kind of go outside the country, which was the case earlier, and the reasons of the founders shifting outside the country. That's not the scenario right now. I'm sure if you're generating revenue at the right price point, ethically, you should be able to raise capital in India itself.
Got it.
Yes,
That's
you want to respond to that? So, Praveen, Yash is our resident SaaS expert.
okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, brief about you and if you want to respond to Praveen's question. Yeah. You'll have to unmute yourself. We are not able to hear you. But you look very fancy with this headgear.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'll briefly explain my question again.
Sure.
Like, we are getting different answers from different sites, let it be from angels, VC, or legal entities. So when we talk about the B2B SaaS and 60 to 70% of the customers are going to come from US, then people are recommending us to have the headquarters, the HQ in US itself. So that's how we like put the HQ in Delaware. Then when we had another conversation, they're like, Indian investors will be easy to invest in an Indian headquarters stuff.
Yeah.
So we are totally confused. So in the long run, what is the ideal approach we need to, because complaints are changing. Some companies are trying to shift from US to India. So all the deal is happening. And Whatfix is raising a bigger chunk of fund, being an Indian headquarters in India itself. So we are totally confused on that part, especially from a structure wise.
I mean,
So I like a very simple answer to that is when you hit $1 million in annual run rate, you should go to the US. I mean, anything lower than that, your connections are here, your team members are here, your investors are here, everything is over here. So once you hit $1 million ARR or more, and when you want to attract growth capital, which has higher risk ability, you might want to consider incorporating in the US. Incorporating in the US at day zero is also something a lot of founders do, but they do it where they are already connected in the US ecosystem, where they've worked over there for a few years. They have like ex colleagues from there who can help and things like that. So that's what I recommend.
Okay.
okay, and generally, coming not to you, your question, but as a general rule, take the advice from the person who's actually giving you the money
Okay. Yeah, got it. Got it.
when you have that choice.
Yeah, that's what even we are intent to do. So we said, okay, we'll start pitching to Indian VC who has both US fund and some has only Indian fund. Whoever is having that right aptitude, we'll accordingly structure, because currently we are completely bootstrapped. So we have that flexibility right now. So that's what we are thinking.
On LinkedIn, there was some great thread by one individual who really mentioned about the challenges that these companies were facing right now. Those who were using Stripe Atlas and getting incorporated in UK. So there was an amazing, insightful conversation. So I'll try to figure out whether so in this link that we have, I'll put up that as a knowledge resources.
Yeah. That's another confusion, right? Like you can't buy the shares directly from your bank account. You have to form the LLP route and then buy it the shares in US. So I saw the post too. Yeah.
So, Pramit, what I would say is that this is a great problem to have. Let's get to that stage, right? So, whenever you're talking to an investor, you say that we'll create a structure that is convenient for you. When it comes to the point where they want to write a check and they ask the name कि भाई मैं ये check कहाँ पे डालूं, मतलब term sheet है, SHA है, DUD है, ये सब होने दो, मतलब ऐसा. When it comes to that point, you can ask this exact question to legal based people. They will be able to assist you with that. So मतलब पर वो problem तो होने देते हैं ना ऐसा, तब तक क्या फर्क पड़ता है?
Correct. Makes sense. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we move to the next sort of question. So, Saurabh, in case if you are able to come on stage, you can try to be on stage. I'm sharing one link with all of you that should get you on stage, but your name will be shown Jatin Chaudhary. So you can.
Agre is yet to introduce.
Huh? Agre,
Raising his hand.
introduce yourself. Even if you don't have a question, do tell us about it.
Yeah, definitely. I hope I am audible.
Oh, very well.
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I am Agray, co-founder at Friendly. So, we are a team of 5 Bits Pilani graduates building in the mental health space. What we are building is essentially a chat-based platform for your mental health first aid. And the few problems that we are solving for mainly is the uncertainty that comes with the mental health, the accessibility, and the affordability. So, these are few things that we are solving for, and how we position ourselves, unlike the traditional therapy or the peer-to-peer platforms present in the space. We uniquely position ourselves by onboarding psychology graduates as listeners, because even they have a hard time to like become a licensed therapist in India. It's a 8 year 10 year process altogether, so even they are struggling for a side income, and like they come up with that academic or the domain expertise to solve for that initial help segment. And uh, we did our soft launch a couple of weeks back, 2 3 weeks back, and the response that we had received was pretty overwhelming, like with about 800 downloads, and we have completed around 600 chat sessions on our platform. So our roadmap, how it lies ahead, is more like targeting B2B channels, where we have already uh, in conversation with 8 to 10 like small scale organizations who are letting us set up our product for their employees. Because recently, like even like on the employee stress and the work stress, a lot of things have been come up on the news, and that is helping us to like position our product there. And yeah, so this is about the product. My question to Umesh is, so before the soft launch, like we have been building for a year or two, and the version that we have right now is, I think, the third pilot. So before the soft launch, us co-founders, we were like, so three of them, they have a full-time job right now, and a lot of pressure was on their head as well, like in terms of like, can we just like fasten the process of fundraising, because they want to quit their jobs and pursue this full time. But like post launch, I personally have an understanding that if we can somehow get into grants, or like equity free grants mainly, and like use that for our operations for like few more months, we can have like a more better leverage when we are having that conversation with the investor. A follow-up question on the same is like, we also want the investors or the folks in the space to observe us or observe our progress. How do we actually, what is the right approach for that? So yeah.
Yeah, so the first question, if I understood it correctly, you said that you're looking for equity-free grant, which can enable three of your co-founders to move out of their current cushy jobs and get full-time into the business.
Not really, like equity free grants mainly to run our operations and the marketing spends that we might have like 1 or 2 months down the line. But like we are looking to raise funds in the span of like within a year.
Right. So the moment, like, I would not generalize it, but the moment you come to me and say that three of my partners or founders are working somewhere else, and they would join us after the funding is received, it's a spoiler for me.
Right,
Because first of all, five founders, you said, that itself is a spoiler. That's like five people banging their heads to achieve the same outcome. It's like very difficult to sustain it for a very longer duration. That is what my personal feeling is. Again, as I said, it is not a generalized statement. You might land up having an interaction who would be very excited to hear that there are five people from BITS Pilani who are kind of launching a new venture and would be willing to write a check. But for me, kind of, five people, five founders, that's very difficult to manage. And plus, three of them working not full time on the venture. So
right,
you would probably face a very difficult uphill task to raise the first check. That is what my feeling is. Um, in case you are very bullish on the product that you're building, as a founder, you should be doing this only. I know it's risk. It doesn't pay you the way jobs would be, but that's what an entrepreneur is, right? I mean, if you're not taking risk today,
right,
how would you believe your investor to believe in you that you guys would be on the right path and taking the right risks in future when it would be required? So that's very difficult to digest for any investor.
right.
Sorry, I missed out on the second question.
So like it was mainly like, is it better to like start the conversation with the investors like when you have like more numbers, better numbers, or when you're like generating revenue, the stage we are at right now, or like should we target like grants or like research grants to just like sustain our operations for a few months and then initiate the conversations with the investors?
So if you have an option uh, to speak to investors only when you have good numbers, obviously yes. I mean, in your entire journey of your venture and startup, if you say that you have an option when to speak to investor, I would always say that you speak to investor never. I mean,
Okay.
if that is a right that you hold, then exercise that right only when it is needed, and it is never needed. To be very honest, I mean that's the most expensive capital that you're raising. Um, so I mean, if you have that option, yes, probably connect with investors only when you're hitting the numbers right and when you have all the co-founders working full time on the venture.
Okay, one of the element that he had, and I believe that a lot of other founders can use it too, is that today you don't want to raise, but typically what happens once you start getting into that zone of raising funds, it becomes a full-time job. It becomes a 6 month year job. But how, as a founder, what is that they could do so that they keep in loop with these investors? Not necessarily they want to raise now, but after 2 years, 1.5 years, when the product gets mature, which becomes interesting for those investors. So yes, probably you've done something similar. If you can share that insight of what do you recommend?
So I mean, I would sort out the. I would second Umesh, and I would sort out the co-founder situation for sure, as to where we are today. And I'd argue that you should start having conversations with the investors instead of asking for money. You might want to ask for advice today, and which is I think what you are exactly doing right now with Umesh. But similar context, right? So you want to start engaging with investors, meet with them in events, and have conversations with them for sure. The other thing that I would also recommend is that actually when you when you want to start asking for money is when you think that you're about to build momentum in the next 6 months, right? Where after the first meeting, if every month you are able to send an update to Umesh saying, hey, we are, ABC grew by 20% this month, and once that consistently happens over month on month or week on week, that's when you'd start to see a lot of interest as well.
Right.
Okay. Also, I would encourage you to check out these interesting websites. Like I've shared this indianvcs.com. It will give you the list of a lot of interesting VCs which are in India. So typically what happens, you will not find a one resource which gives all the answers, but you get a direction. So from example, if you go to this website, it will show you the name of the VC called 2M VC. So it will have the LinkedIn. Even if you don't have the LinkedIn, now you never know the name 2M VC. Go to LinkedIn, go to Twitter, identify who are the people behind this fund, which are the startups that they've invested in. Try to build relationship and figure out a way to communicate with their portfolio startup founders. And if you get introduced by them to their VCs, that's the best way to get introduced to. So nobody will come and tell you that this is the founder who have raised from 2MVC and this is that founder's LinkedIn profile. Once you have a name, you can do a backward integration of everything and try to figure out. So you'll find a lot of resources, and if you do that, and whenever you actually need that connection, you would know that okay, somebody in your network who may be connected with them. Or unless until your message is so powerful that you send an email to person and that person responds without any introduction.
Uh, I had a follow-up question, a quick question for Umesh. So, how bad is so? This is the response regarding the co-founder situation I had received from a few more investors as well, people in the space. But how bad is the situation according to you? Because how things are working on our side is we are all based out of Bangalore, and like all five of us like started working on it at the same time during our college days. And I want to know from your like perspective, like how bad is the five founding team members or like five co-founder situation?
Okay, all five of you did a backpack trip together like before this?
Half of the time we are together only. I think
No, no,
we are probably sleeping together, I think, at this point.
okay, Umesh, you respond.
You're sleeping together today, those third time but we will not be sleeping together.
But in general, like I wanted to know your opinion, ki, like how is it looked upon, like when you have like five people like as a founding team?
So externally, if you ask me, the first thought is that it's always difficult to pull off the venture with five people kind of driving in the same direction. Unless and until you're able to prove the fact that all of you have a strong complementary skill sets, which is a must to have within the venture, and it is a necessary, and which can help you to kind of scale up faster. Till that point, it's very difficult at this juncture to accept or digest the fact that there are five people driving a SaaS venture. Probably, if you scale up, you have like very strong numbers, bottom line, बहुत अच्छा आ रहा है, then probably these questions would vary away. Then it wouldn't
Right.
matter as to how many founders are there to drive the business. It is only at this stage when you're yet to prove things, you're yet to kind of validate the product, you're yet to kind of generate the right set of revenues. These questions would come up. But trust me, it is difficult being friends with somebody that you have been knowing since ages and running a business alongside him. Those are two different things. I can probably chill out with
Definitely.
my childhood friend for ages. Like I can survive with him, but I can't do a business with him. Uh, Two different fundamental thought processes that I personally believe. I mean, these are all again external thoughts. You can be
Right.
100% correct and right on the path that you are, and your belief system can be true. And it ultimately it is your personal belief which helps you to achieve the difficult outcomes in your life. External views can be adopted and in a filtered manner the way you want it.
Okay. So Agreg,
Right.
by no means we are saying that reduce your founder. Stay with those five
Yeah.
founders. ऐसा बोला
Yeah.
the other founder
Thank
comes
you guys for that.
next each event saying that no, my founder asked me to leave because he got an advice at your event.
I don't think that is going to happen because like even like my other co-founders, I didn't know them like before, like for a long time. It's just been a year since we started working on this. We just have that university ka connection.
Correct.
But I personally feel like two people are working on the product and like two people are working on the development side. One is sitting on the app, one is sitting on the back end, and one person is sitting on the marketing. So right now we are not looking to hire anyone because there is no requirement like of manpower or man hours. But I feel just wanted to know from the investor perspective, like how bad does it look, because I have received this similar response a couple of times in the past.
Okay. Yash had raised his hand. So Yash, you wanted to share
I
anything?
just building on what Umesh said from an investor standpoint, as a founder standpoint, I like amongst the founders, what I would also recommend is bring the risk to an equitable level, right? I think that's also a challenge. So if there are some founders who are putting in their time and some founders who are putting in less of their time, then ask them to make it up with money, right? So time and money are one and the same. So if you're putting in 8 hours, they're putting in 2 hours, then the 6 hours ka paisa they should invest, right? So the amount of, if you're able to bring, that's when you know that these are co-founders, right? So if the
Right.
risk is equitable for all the people, then that's an interesting structure. If an investor says कि यार तुम्हारे कुछ founders part time है, ये है वो है, तो in those cases you are always able to say that no boss, ये he's also putting in capital and he's also you know working on things, right? So then
Yeah.
it's a little better explanation, and it is also a good way to test out the co-foundership.
Understood. Yes. So we are running on a pretty similar model only. So the people who are
Right,
working
right.
right now, they are putting in the money and they're willing to take a hit on the equity side as well that they'll be
Awesome.
owning. But till now it's running smooth and like thank you for validating that.
So
Perfect.
Agreg, there is a friend of mine who has six co-founders. So every quarter
Okay.
I ask him how many co-founders. He always says six.
Six.
So I'm going to ask him next quarter also. So I'll put you in my their friend list.
Yeah, definitely. Jyoti. I
Okay.
think I won't
We
take much of your time,
Awesome.
but
Thank you so much,
yeah,
Algar. We'll try. Then
yeah.
we'll take the last question. Saurabh has asked. We are a prop tech company offering VR solutions for real estate and hospitality. We have built India's first and the world's most advanced VR tool editor. However, we are struggling to find the right investors, as many VCs and angels in India are hesitant to invest in the metaverse. We are bootstrapped and nearing the end of our funds, looking to test out our product in the market. How can we connect with the founders interested in investing in metaverse? Umesh, your response to
Sorry, that was too fast for me.
that. Okay.
I'm just trying to
Can
find that question.
Can you check out the question? Or Saurabh, probably you can join on stage. But metaverse as an opportunity, like metaverse. Have you discovered metaverse?
Metaverse is an opportunity.
Correct. Probably Saurav's question was around that. I'll just try to repeat it. We are a prop
Got it.
tech.
I am Saurav. We are in the prop tech business. We have built India's first and the world's most advanced VR tour editor.
please connect with me on LinkedIn ID.
No, no. There is. If you go to question, there is a Q&A where his question is answered. If you click on the answered, I'm putting up in the chat.
So,
Yeah,
Saurabh
is,
had asked this question.
I'm
is
just not, if not
Acha,
sure,
Saurabh is here.
I
Saurabh,
can.
ask
Yeah.
your question. Yes.
Yeah, so hi Umesh, I'm Saurabh Upadhyay. I'm based out of Surat. So we are currently in the prop tech business, offering VR solution for real estate and hospitality. So we have built our own virtual tour editor, which is India's the first and right now the world's most advanced VR tour editor. And also we have our own e-commerce platform for posting that VR tours. So right now the problem that we are facing is like I have spoken to like multiple VCs, VCs from Bloom Ventures, mainly Joseph, and also from the Meta officials. Like I have spoken to Sunil Abram sir. He's a director of public policy at Meta. So they explained me like the current scenario in the Indian market. Like a lot of VCs are not, you know, uh, not interested in investing in metaverse, and they are hesitating it. So we are finding very difficulty in connecting with the founders who can, have the same like visions that we think about metaverse and more interested in our product. So
Okay.
is there
Umesh,
any way you can help us out?
so the challenge is raising capital or generating revenue.
So we have built a product, and we want to test it, and we want to see how it will behave in the India market, because right now the people are not, they don't have that devices which are capable of streaming the metaverse platform or a content. So we have built a platform that is accessible through mobile, laptop, desktop, like from the small devices to big devices. So we have built something that is not completely dependent on the VR headset, but also on the low end devices. So we want to test it out how it will behave in the market.
Saurabh, I shared one link with you. Mica is a very popular institute based out of Ahmedabad. So they have an initiative called Micaverse, where they engage with a lot of people trying to build stuff around metaverse. So they could be interesting people for you to meet and see what they also talk about this or what kind of folks are in their ecosystem. But Umesh, your response to Saurabh's question.
Yeah, sort of, I would have the similar views as to what you have received from other interactions that you had. Uh, from a revenue standpoint, also, it's difficult to kind of convince an enterprise or a customer here to pay a value for metaverse solutions that you will be offering them. Secondly, there are not much funds who are interested to kind of invest into this segment currently. This might change in future, but this is the current scenario today. Um, even I would say that if the fundraising is difficult, probably I would have ignored it. But if generating revenue is difficult in India, why probably put in extra efforts to kind of change the culture and try and see if that can be adopted within the country. If you feel that your solution can is the right solution for a use case that you thought of in some other country, probably try and generate revenue in those markets rather than kind of putting in extra efforts in India where you're not able to change the culture of not adoption of metaverse. I think that would be my view. I mean, putting your efforts when you can generate faster results, and you can see the efforts that you put in being kind of generating, I mean, reaping profits rather than kind of putting in efforts here in India.
Yeah, but like from my point of view, I know like we will be a profitable company because the the current Indian real estate market is more than 330 billion dollar market. So and the other companies are doing quite well, like housing.com, or if you talk about no brokers, they are
They are
doing well. And
metaverse company.
no, they are the real estate broking platform. So we have built a platform which provides the same thing with metaverse. So we are also offering metaverse and the solutions that they are currently offering. So we have merged the two platforms in a single platform that it offers both solutions.
तो खुद क्यों ऑफर करना है? Why don't kind of plug it into their platforms? Sell your solution to them, and they can make your product reach to masses. They're already there.
Yeah, so I mean the issue is the metaverse thing that we built requires a lot of backend capabilities or deep tech. So they might
Saurabh, you can,
take the platform. Yes.
Saurabh, there is this person called Keur Bhalawat. So he had a startup which was earlier acquired by Square Yards, which is also a similar big ticket program. And he is also into AR, VR industry since last 10, 15 years. So he
Okay.
could be an interesting person to talk to because he has met all these folks. He has a good understanding.
Yeah.
So so Saurabh, you reach out to me separately. Are you based out of Surat?
Yes, I'm at Sur.
Okay. Are you part of Ichai's group in Surat?
No, but I was there at Gurugram Center, so Heartron.
So do connect me individually. I'll connect you with 5, 6 folks who are very much into metaverse in so many years. So they may connect you with some interesting folks who can really help you progress faster.
Yeah, sure, sure. Actually,
Awesome.
we are also part of Paddle Start group, so we are also working with them, and they had people from Square Yards, co-founders from Square Yards, but I haven't able to connect with them right now. So
So फाउंडर से बात करने से काम नहीं होगा. तो फाउंडर से बात करते उनसे बात करने से काम होगा.
yeah, like we are still looking, and we are hopeful.
You do good work. I want to do good work, but I don't have money.
Yeah, sure, I'll reach out to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll wrap it up, but next time probably we'll do much more curated ones. We'll take some 15, 20 folks for these sessions only, but this was very fun and interesting session. Thank you so much, Umesh. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Harsha is leading Ichai's event on Saturday morning. If you're in Ahmedabad, if you're into HR, do reach out to us. We'll try to engage you in that activity also. But we do have events happening everywhere. Sujay, any closing remarks from your side? I know you are in hurry. You can say thank you and just log off.
No, thank you everyone for joining in, and I hope that that was informative for everyone. And we'll see you in the next session, but definitely do feel free to spread the word for sessions. And you can visit Ichai's website, and you can also suggest the topics that you would practically want to learn. And what we try to do is we try to bring in relevant people who hold expertise in that, and that can be, as Jatin told, very curated sessions, sort of closed group, but hopefully that adds a lot of value to everyone's entrepreneurial journey. So thank you for staying with us today, and do like, share, subscribe, have fun, grow well.
Like, share, subscribe, where?
That's a good thing. So tag relevant people. Obviously, I think the last session, one thing that that was about social media, and somebody said it very wisely, is if you tag, let's say, Jatin, Umesh, myself, Harsha is on the stage, collectively we are a good 40, 45,000, 50,000 people reach. So if you happen to take a screenshot, spread the word, tag us, we respond back to that. That would be a good reach for your business as well. So rather than making that a pitch for ourselves, I think it's also a great reach for everyone's startups, and that's what we intend to do. Right?
That's how you pitch to investors. You don't tell investors I need money. You tell investors you give me money, you get 10x returns.
Making it relevant for everyone, and an opportunity.
Did you just position us as influencers? Did you just say that?
I did. Collectively, it is quite up there, right? So just placing it that way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll be uploading the recording on Ichai's YouTube channel tomorrow, but you'll be able to see the recordings of all the earlier sessions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harsha.